We rarely hear about IGN reviews, but when we do, it's usually for the worst possible reason. Recently, one of the reviewers delivered an incredible review of Mouse P.I. for Hire, giving it a staggering 6 out of 10. Just a reminder that Concord got a 7 and that's going to follow IGN to the end of their days. At the moment, that video has 21,000 dislikes and not even 2,000 likes, and in this material we'll see whether the hate towards Mr. Will Borger, the unfortunate reviewer in question, was justified. Enjoy the watch. This is the kind of guy who thinks mayonnaise is too spicy. The studio didn't pay us. 6 out of 10. Waiter, my cartoon is too cartoony. This dude 100% asks for his toilet consent before he sits. A quick introduction. Mouse P.I. for Hire is an indie game created by the Warsaw-based studio Fumi Games. I had a chance to experience this game, and I have to admit, the more you play this game, the dumber the IGN reviewers' arguments seem. For example, in a mouse world about mice, where mice play the main role, according to the reviewer, there are too many references to cheese.
Bothers me, however, is how overly referential so much of it is. The world is full of mice, so everything is about cheese. Everything. A bad guy? He's a cheese-legger.
These cheese-leggers in on the shrew racket.
Run into a lady mouse with a sultry voice? It'll be described as
Gorgonzola picante slapped on a mozzarella platter.
someone need to assure you they're telling the truth?
Swear on my mama's cottage curds!
This is charming initially, then it never stops. Everything is a reference to the fact that everyone is a mouse and mice like cheese.
I understand you might not like the way the game's story is written, but that's its theme. That's like complaining that The Witcher has too many monsters, or that Doom revolves around demons, or that Sea of Thieves has too much water. Or going to OnlyFans and complaining there are too many naked people, or buying a lava burger and... oh, well, you know what I mean. And the guy in the video didn't mention it, so I will assume that he didn't know about it, because this game literally takes place during Prohibition time, when everything revolved around alcohol production, around mafia, except here alcohol is replaced with cheese. So I don't know why he's so surprised that the word bootlegger from Prohibition times was turned into cheeselegger. In one of the first locations I literally found an illegal cheese distillery. Also, for all non-native English speakers, blunt and exaggerated jokes like this in English are literally called cheesy. Sure, that kind of humor won't land for everyone, that's understandable. A lot of people might think that it's not funny or even feel some kind of cringe. And that's fine, you can have your own opinion, just don't present it as facts, because you can't blame a mouse for having a tail and liking to play serenades. And then we get to this.
Constant callbacks to classic films or other video games? Not so much. And it doesn't end there. A boss fight in the sewers? It's a literal alligator because of course it is.
Can someone explain what this was about? Who was supposed to be the boss in the sewers? A woodpecker? Or maybe turtles and a rat, so the reviewer would have even more reasons to complain about pop culture references. Wait, maybe he actually walks into an Italian restaurant and says, "Well, of course you sell pizza. What else did I expect?" 6 out of 10.
It's hard to care about anything in Mouse P.I. for Hire because it never stops making jokes about everything.
Here's Jacko.
It just wants to remind you of other better things. Surely that's enough, right?
Don't tell this guy that movies like The Naked Gun exist, or that slapstick comedy is a thing, or his brain might explode. Or maybe it won't, because later he will complain about exploding heads. Anyway, once again, we are back to the argument that a noir-style cartoon with mice isn't serious enough.
At least the shooting is better. This is the latest in a wave of boomer shooters inspired by old school FPSs like Doom or Quake, and it's a decent one at that.
Wait, so he knows what the boomer shooter and Doom is? Now I really don't understand the thing. What that poor mouse ever do to you, Mr. Reviewer?
Levels also really like to pull the "we're gonna lock you in a room and throw baddies at you until they're dead or you are" shtick, a little too much for my taste.
Or maybe he doesn't? What? The guy can complain in one part of the review that we are locked in arenas with enemies who we have to defeat using various weapons and abilities, and in other part mentions Doom and Quake, which do exactly the same thing. Maybe if we would rename the main character to be the Jack the Slayer, then it would be easier for him.
Is rendered in an absolutely gorgeous black and white mix of sprite work and 3D models. The world building may be thin, but Mouse P.I. for Hire is still dressed to the nines. Even here, though, I have issues. Weapons can feel weak, especially the shotgun. It's got the audio kick of a pop gun, and there's a strange disconnect to seeing something that sounds like a kid's toy blow off some poor mouse's head as you paint the white of the world with black ichor that spews from his neck.
At this point of the video, I still couldn't tell whether this person simply hated the game or he was told by the higher ups to give it a 6 out of 10 and had to come up with some excuses to justify it. Literally, look at the game category and you will find your answers. On one hand, it's a 1930s style cartoon, hence the exploding heads. On the other, it has blood and noir vibes, but in a comedic form. He'd really stand next to a drunk bum and wonder where that unpleasant smell is coming from. Well, at least we got few good compliments about the game, so it's not bad at all. We can still save it. That's good because it means his hate comes straight from the heart, rather than being artificial or forced. Okay, enough of the good stuff, back to criticism.
It even locks safes to open with your tail, which pulls double duty as a lockpick. Some of these locks are on a time limit, or must be solved in a limited number of moves, and you only get one shot at the good stuff they hold. Others are so easy you could probably solve them by letting an actual mouse run across your keyboard. It's very jarring.
Literally every game with lockpicking has different difficulty levels. Thief, Dishonored, Deus Ex, Mafia, Dying Light, Cyberpunk, Hogwarts Legacy, Kingdom Come Deliverance, Fallout, The Elder Scrolls. Should I keep going? In some games, it's tied to character's level, like open world games, but here we have a linear story, so the difficulty can vary depending on the reward, or maybe on the place, or maybe on the person we're stealing from. The lack of the logic here can be found in the reviewer's word. And by the way, also someone noticed that he is saying that they are too easy, but then he's also making a mistake himself.
It's an actual issue here. Jack Pepper is a PI who kills more people in a single mission than Philip Marlowe has in every book Raymond Chandler ever wrote combined.
Do you know what game IGN gave 10 out of 10? The Last Fucking of Us Part 2. And do you know what do you do in this godforsaken game? Exactly, kill thousands of people with cold blood. But that game was made by Mr. Cookman, so it's smarter not to mention it. After all, you don't kill the main villain at the end. Such a deep game. A lot of people also suggested that the developer simply didn't pay IGN, which is why the score turned out the way it did. Honestly, when I look at that 10 for The Last of Us, I start to believe it. Everyone knows IGN has diluted its scores like a greedy moonshiner, and most games get ratings between 6 and 8, which isn't any real indicator of quality. Anyway, it would be nice if the arguments used in these reviews showed even a bit of understanding of what they're actually dealing with. And here we get to the core of it, the reason for this strongly negative review. According to the reviewer, the game is 6 out of 10 because it clashes with noir conventions. The thing is, according to him, while noir does include a lot of violence, that violence is meaningful, whereas here it gets diluted by eliminating hundreds of enemies.
In the story as Mouse P.I. for hire references, violence is an unfortunate but unavoidable part of the human experience that shatters the people it touches. Here, it's just entertainment, and that weakens the whole concept.
I think he's massively oversimplifying the entire genre here. That's like saying punk universes can only be cyberpunk. The reviewer doesn't understand that you can mix and combine game categories to create something new. For the same reason I didn't like Elden Ring Night Rain, which was based on Elden mechanics but approached them from a completely different angle by throwing the player into a battle royale world. The difference is, I don't consider that a flaw, I just understand that it's only my opinion, only not my thing. I would not present it in a review saying that it's something bad. You go to a restaurant and complain about combining meat with chocolate just because that kind of usual cuisine doesn't suit you, and yes, it's an actual combo. It turns out that games with this kind of art style have a high chance of embarrassing the journalist reviewing them. Hide your reviewers, for God's sake. Despite the hateful words, the game was very warmly received, scoring 8.2 from players on Metacritic. So far, I also have quite positive impressions, although, for example, the lack of accuracy when shooting with a pistol bores me a bit, but I can also see the motivation behind it. And yes, I also can agree with the reviewer that the game could skip shooting at police officers in the station, and it could turn that evidence board into another logic puzzle. I imagine something like Crime and Punishment of Sherlock Holmes games, but then when I remember how complicated it gets, I realized that it's good that they stayed with current implementation. But in the end, these are just small details, because this might not be the last time we hear about this game this year, and in a positive sense. YouTubers and reviewers can complain all they want, but the caravan moves on, and in the end, a good game will always defend itself. So, what do you think about both the review and the game itself? Personally, I wish Fumi Games continued success, and I wish you a great rest of your day. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this. For now, bye bye, take care.